Welcome back to Curse, Code, and Crown, a live play Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition podcast featuring a fully original world and campaign. I am the wizard Cronox, observer of time. Curse, Code, and Crown features our regular voiceover artists and improvisers, Laura Elizabeth as the Orc Count Eta and Princess Gwendolyn, Tyler Hewitt as Makka Deathcap, and Ryan LaPlante as Duncan Danno, alongside our dungeon master, the incredible Tom McGee. So get ready for an adventure including thrills, chills, and hope for a brighter tomorrow. It's time for Curse, Code, and Crown!
Large humanoid figures emerge from the darkness, wind whipping around them, water flying by as you approach the concrete dome structure in the canyon. And as you roll up, you see more of these transport vehicles seemingly parked, and a small figure comes running out and seems to be jumping up and down in an agitated manner. And you see they seem to be just decked out in something rather ornate, which is odd for the space. You can see like a lot of jewelry bouncing around on them as they jump up and down. But then they lean down and hold up a wand of some sort, and with a flick of their wrist, it ignites like a flare, and they begin kind of waving at you, and then waving towards a space next to some of these other vehicles.
Does Sylvie turn, or
she turns to Duncan? Like Duncan's over her shoulder with a gun,
yeah.
So she just says like,
"We follow the directions and then see how this goes."
Yeah, honestly, I'm pretty excited for a chance to talk at them about the design of this thing. So just you keep that gun handy, eh? I don't know if I trust these guys yet.
Yeah, I think I'll go towards the back, and perhaps the three biggest ones of us can go out and have a conversation.
Honestly, that sounds great. Now, if you'll excuse me, I got some parking to do. She like spins the wheel, and the thing just slowly, gradually shifts the way the figure outside is guiding you. It kind of like starts rolling in, and Sylvia starts swearing, and eventually seems to like find the brake and hits the brake. And outside, you can see this figure kind of like doing like an awkward run to catch up to the vehicle, still holding the flare. And you see them reach into their belt and pull out what looks to your eye, Duncan, to be kind of a very like squat and I think almost like Hellboy's pistol, just like a thick, heavy multi-barrel gun, and they just kind of hold it like up but not raised, if that makes any sense. So at hand, lowered, but close enough that if they had to snap it up, they could. They're standing there sparking. Of course, to get out, it'll have to be Makka first, since he's been wedged in. What do you do?
Makka, I think, who has basically been kind of like hands and feet kind of in a big X spread out to keep him inside, but his shell is kind of hanging outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. I think just kind of tucks his legs up and pushes himself out, so he just kind of lands on his feet, back still to this stranger, but then he'll turn around.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the moment Makka's out, Duncan's leaping out to be kind of over his left shoulder, trying to leave politely an indication to Ida to maybe take the right to build out the triangle, but he's not going to say anything.
Ida, what do you do?
I will take up position, mainly because I'm like, is everyone... She's kind of thinking like, is everyone being like super hostile? Like, this seems okay.
Great. So as Makka's like wedging his way out, you get into position. As you do, the person has raised the gun while still holding up the flare. Now that you can see light, them a little bit easier. You can see that they're wearing a almost equivalent of a gas mask. So big kind of round circular glass eyes, a breathing apparatus, but small, kind of tight to the face, but breathing apparatus nonetheless. And it's very much in like a full head mask that seems to be almost like locked off at the neck. There seems to be like some kind of like tube system that's attached there. They're highly they're wearing a ton of jewelry, which is super strange. They're wearing kind of like an open rubberized vest, otherwise bare-shouldered, bare chest, wearing a bunch of necklaces. They're kind of picking up the glint of the sort of beads that are picking up the glint of the flare, and otherwise they're wearing like you'd recognize. This is all like they're clearly wearing weatherized gear. Like they're definitely used to being out here. The hands are gloved in kind of like heavy work gloves, and the pants are very like utilitarian. They've got sort of cargo pockets, big, heavy, like, weatherproof work boots. And as they raise the gun through the mask, you just hear a voice say, "Are you friend or foe?"
Hail, friend. We're here in an attempt to be friends. We found this vehicle abandoned in the woods and then drove towards the light.
All right, who are you?
I am Duncan Danno, first captain of the Dawnbreakers. This is Makka Deathcap, formerly of the Consortium of Bleen, and Ita of the Empire of Numbers. Inside, there's a team from the Apex Institute. How have you survived out here this long?
Like the figure seems a little bit surprised by the question, like was ready for more introductions and just kind of looks around a little awkwardly and starts to lower the gun and just says, I mean, we built this habitat. We've been out here for a while. Got quite an operation going. Come on, let's. How many of you are there? You said you're just returning the vehicle. What the hell are you doing down here?
We're down here looking for power for a key. There's someone inside who I can explain that better, probably. I'm going to warn you, kind of rude, a little bit intense, but we promise we mean well. And then he'll just start helping the gnomes out to meet this new team.
Sure. So the guy edges back a little bit, like kind of raises the gun a little bit more. But seeing that many people, he looks down at the 4 barrels and just kind of lowers it because like, this definitely doesn't. He had enough bullets to threaten 3 people. More than that. Then Sylvia kind of comes out, goggles down, does the full like jump off thing and lands kind of splashily, sort of cloak whipping up behind her. And the guy with the mask just says, "Holy shit, is that Sylvia Tome, the science gnome?" And Sylvia tries to flick her hair in a dramatic way, but it's like soaked and plastered down the sides of her head. So it just kind of like doesn't move. And she tries it a couple more times. She says, "Yeah, that's me." And around her, you just hear like the gnomes and goblins being like, "Seal, seal, 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 seal." And she's like, "That's right. It's me, Sylvia Tome, the science gnome, and my scientific companions. And I've got some thoughts about the design of your weird it's for dwarves. Everybody, it's for dwarves." And they all go, "Oh," and like nod. And she's like, "Hey, sorry, I was going to be a real dick to you about how badly built that is, but it's just not for us." "Cool, this makes a lot more sense." And she kind of nods to you. She's like, "Good work, Duncan. Solved the mystery. Hey, can we go inside that thing, or is it just for show?" And the dwarf nods and says, "Yeah, oh man, everyone's going to be so excited. This is the best. Sylvia Tome, the science gnome. I hope she says bitch. All right, come on, let's go. And
just say, like, she does.
And the dwarf just like does like a little full body dance. Like as he's walking, he's just like a little bouncier, a little happier. He turns to you, Duncan, as you're kind of moving along. And he says, "Also, look, I really want to thank you for bringing our ride back. One of the we tend to secure them pretty safely against the wind, but man, a hell of a gust came through here. Just it took off. I thought that would be the last we'd see of it. So we really owe you one."
Hey, you're welcome, friend. We're happy to assist however we can. It's impressive, your operation you have set up here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, hey, wait till you see the inside. Also, hey, do you guys like beer? And then he boots open the door, and inside, it's like a proper habitat. It's been set up. There's a big long table that has a bunch of like wooden cups that seem to be lined up and knocked over on it. You can hear someone strumming a lute in the corner. It's warm. It's dry. There are a number of large sort of seemingly like portholes that are there, but have been filled with this glass that they've got over their eyes. But you recognize now that this building has been stone shaped by the dwarves inside. And as you walk in, you see a dwarf just like pull up her shirt at another dwarf who like laughs and throws her some beads. And he says, "Welcome to Fortress Martigraut. We're an expeditionary force sent here on a mission from Fortress Martigraut. It's a little bit of a ways away, but we're always happy to see visitors. Everybody, we got visitors. They don't have any beads." And everyone kind of like laughs. And he says, "But one of them, Sylvia Tome the Science Gnome." And like a cheer goes up from the rest of the crowd. And immediately, a woman who is like literally looks like a piece of leather that was like lost long ago outside and somehow dragged itself back in. She is just a fucking proper hardy ancient dwarf, like skin like leather, bald head kind of shaved to just kind of fuzz. Face looks like she stopped a tractor with it, like just real hardy. And wearing more beads than you could think is possible. Like her outfit is more beads than person at this point. And she sits up from a console where there's a lot of different monitoring equipment. You can see that they've basically got a whole little command station set up sort of on the upper, there's sort of an upper ring and then the main floor. And she just turns around and says, "Oh, wow. Sylvia Tome the Science Gnome here in our little slice of Mardi Gras? Incredible." And she comes like storming down the stairs, and she just says, "You're all welcome here. I understand you brought back one of our floats. That's it's mighty kind of you. Those things blow away like crazy. My name's Keg Stan Kelly, and I'm the head of this expeditionary force from the Fortress Martigraut.
No.
You're all welcome here." And with that, you're welcomed into the DEF habitat. How do you greet Cake Stand Kelly?
I think Ita puts out her hand first. It just says, "May I ask, do you by any chance have any dealings with the fine people of Sprongbreck?"
And she kind of rolls her eyes and looks to everyone else. She's like, "What, those clowns? Yeah, we talk to them from time to time, but never been too impressed with the way they do things down there. I mean, look, we like to party, don't get me wrong, but we also get shit done up here. Yeah, I mean, we got some cousins around, but I mean, Mardi Gras, I mean, that's the party you want to be at, not Sprongbreck. It always feels like a pale imitation of our work anyway. Besides, Fortress Mardi Gras has been around a lot longer. And there's like some weird like dwarven snickering and like snarky comments about how long their fortress has existed. But they say, "Well, why? You guys familiar with there? Have you been to Sprongbreck?" "Yes.
Indeed, we have."
"I'm so sorry."
It was an experience, but undoubtedly it pales to the grand visitation that we would have were we to visit Fortress Martigraut. I am Duncan Danno, first captain of the Dawnbreakers. This is Makka Deathcap, formerly of the Consortium of Bleen, and this is Ita of the Empire of Numbers. We are traversing this island alongside Sylvia Tome, the Science Gnome, and we're here to seek your assistance, if you can but help us.
I mean, yeah, we can probably help you out. I'm honored. Wow, Sylvia Tome the Science Gnome. Sylvia's like, yes, Keg Stand Kelly. Yeah, of course, Fortress Mardi Gras. We've heard such great things back at the Institute. Your Stone Shapers are really quite something else. You've managed to merge technology with stone shaping, right? She kind of like points to the gear that's been built into these consoles. And Kickstand Kelly like nods and says, hey, yeah, actually, I believe some of your Apex folks helped us get that sorted out. But yeah, now that we've got pretty good analytics. Was that your signal? And like they immediately start like science talking to each other. But after a moment, she nods and says, all right, we should talk about this over a beer pong. And she turns back to the rest of you and says, so Duncan and Danno, you guys are looking for a power source. We can probably help you with that. We got more power here than we know what to do with, honestly. Though admittedly, most of this is bound for the fortress. We're one of the main suppliers of power to Fortress Mardi Gras. But I'm sure we can probably spare some. Just depends on the nature of your request. But before we get to that, I gotta ask: did you come for all of your Danno shit, or can we still use that?
I am here to learn about the Danno shade, as you're referring to it. I am somehow peripherally related to this, but I lack information about my family's past.
Oh, yeah, lots of us here have that problem too. Yeah, okay, cool. Well, I don't have any answers for you, but I got some Danno stuff. Honestly, we're using some of it, but you could take it, I guess, if you need it.
Well, let's review what it is. I wouldn't want to take anything that's central to your operation. You seem like good people doing good work.
And she kind of nods and kind of waves some dwarves over. You do get the sense that even though this is these guys clearly do party similar to the folks at Sprongbreck, you're seeing a lot more age variance here. It's clearly the gradual petrification that was kind of forced on Sprongbreck by the demon clearly isn't true here. And based on what she said, it's clear that Mardi Gras is powered differently. They're not running off demons, which is good. That's good news generally for all involved. You're not quite sure what that means, but it's clear that they're running some kind of operation here for that. Duncan, you're shown to you can actually see, like, looking around, there are like large tarps with like House of Danno and sort of the laurels around them and stuff. They're mostly just using them as like, one's clearly shower curtains. Some of the blankets are Danno branded. So there's unfortunately like nothing here that's like tremendously revealing. They just they've clearly like scavenged a bunch of the shit, which kind of makes sense given that here everything gets wind blasted up against the canyon walls. So it's kind of easy to just go and like cherry pick what you want. But they're like offering you blankets and stuff. They're just like, hey, if this is yours, you can just take it.
No, you hang on to that. That's fine. We've already got the equipment we need. Yeah, he'd only be interested in anything that's going to like tell him a story or anything that looks, I guess, historically or magically significant, if that makes sense.
Yeah, this all looks very mundane in kind of an alarming way, like cheap and mundane. The only real thing of interest is that, again, you're seeing the same variations on the Danno name. And can you roll me a history check, please?
That is a 9.
9? Yeah, you're seeing logos. They don't mean much to you, but they're related to the House of Danno somehow. So are you. My God, the revelations.
Yeah, I think he's just it almost ends up being a polite tour of their facility more so than seeing anything he wants to take. Yep. So he's not going to take shit unless they've got something along the lines of like a handkerchief or a hand towels with the different logos. If you could get one sample of each of the different images just so he can compare them to things, but he'd want a small one. He wouldn't take anything they're using.
Cool. I mean, one of the dwarves offers to just like sketch you out the different
Perfect. He'll take that.
The different things that they've seen. Honestly, she seems pretty jazzed about it. It's not very often that she gets to draw stuff. So she's just like, yeah, I'll do that. That's great. So she sets about doing that. Ita and Makka, is there anything you'd be doing?
I think Ida just has a general curiosity about the technology. So
Sure.
I think she'll be. I don't know. doing her own side investigation.
Yep, that makes sense.
Because she's also like having dealt with the people of Sprongbrack and seeing, although they say they're not similar, she's seeing a lot of similarities. She's just like,
Sure.
I maybe get more information just checking this stuff out myself.
I think it'd also be safe to say that I guess I'll give you the option. You can attempt your own investigation, or Sylvia and Kickstand Kelly are legitimately having like a conversation about this, but it's an indirect conversation. It's like they're playing beer pong and drinking and laughing and like talking about other things, but the conversation keeps drifting into like, again, it's literally a meeting of the minds. It's like two highly scientifically minded people, just like, well, I mean, one more being an engineer and one being a scientist, but literally just being like, oh yeah, no, that is funny. Yeah, no, I'll flash you for some beads. That's fine. Oh, hey, so here's a curiosity though. How the fuck did you? Is this whole thing stone shaped, but like you rigged it up with electricity and Kickstand Kelly being like, all right. Oh, there you go. Here's your beads. Great, fantastic. Yeah, no, once we realized how you guys rig up lights and things, we just decided that we could stone shape around it, and like it was actually very easy, and really it's good because it means our equipment doesn't get wet at all with all the storms, and like there's again like tidbits, but it would be an incredibly infuriating conversation for Ida to have to put up with.
Yeah.
Do you listen to that, or do you try and do your own investigation?
She'll listen to it as long as there is something she's learning from it.
I mean, there is, but it is few and far between. So, Ida, you settle down to watch two brilliant minds get kind of drunk, flash each other for beads, and talk about scientific marvels, the likes of which this world has never seen.
I ship it.
Sorry?
Said I ship it. I hope those two kids get together and make each other very happy.
I mean, is the world ready for what they would create, though? That's the real question.
Crazy gals.
Laura, can you roll me a
Constitution save?
I was thinking intelligence.
Oh yeah.
Where it's just like, how can you endure? Because I feel like this is. I've just been watching a lot of like YouTube videos on how to fix various things, and like a lot of them are tech based. So they start with like a 5-minute, like, "Hello, my name is Fix'em Steve, and I'll be doing this video if you like." And I'm like, I don't care. Just tell me how to fix my monitor, you piece of shit. So it's that frustration of just like, this is useful. It'll get there.
It's looking up a recipe online, that kind of shit.
When my dog died 5 years ago, I was inconsolable, but I wanted fettuccine.
Yeah.
His name was fettuccine.
There's like one ingredient spread out like every 5 paragraphs.
Yes, it's exactly that. It's literally like, the instructions and ingredients are there, but you have to read so much dead dog story to get them. All right, so go ahead and roll your save.
Okay. 16.
16, all right. I think because you are so in awe of Sylvia Tome the Science Gnome, you put up with this.
Yeah.
And also admittedly, like, Kickstand Kelly's work is fascinating. Like, this is a whole realm that you kind of know very little about, but the idea of mixing magic with technology is like an interesting space. Also, I think like part of it is just it's a joy to listen to Sylvia talk about anything, but also you're still on the lookout for like information about Apex, and you're getting tidbits. So the 16, what you learn, Ita, is that the DEF, the Dwarven Expeditionary Force, set out from Fortress Mardegrout some time ago, years ago, after the anomaly had occurred. So by the time the valley was already a disaster. But essentially, they established this wind farm here and are using the storms to power massive batteries that they're shipping to and from Fortress Mardegrout, which in turn the dwarves there are using in their artificing. Mardegrout doesn't build weapons and armor. It dabbles in it, but their main industry is in essentially like industrial building goods. So the kinds of things that like the metals and the materials that Apex would need to kind of build their stuff.
Right.
As well as various other things. After, you would know this, after the war with the Necrotis, like there was enough widespread devastation. Like it was pretty much like a Walking Dead level disaster. Or I guess Last of Us is probably the better analogy, where like a lot of shit was really badly broken. So there was a huge boom in building as people started to recover. The need for rebuilding and restructuring was very high. And it's part of the turn you've seen in a lot of societies where the major kind of cultural and societal shifts you saw, similar to like after World War II, where like a lot of societies were like, I guess we're this now. There were some big shifts. So this all makes sense to you. But yes, so basically they weather the storm in this habitat. It's, you can think of it almost like an oil rig where DEF forces come and go. Cakestand Kelly's been here forever. She's like the director of operations here. But otherwise, the crews are on temporary kind of like 6-month rotations.
Okay.
In and out. Sylvia, let's roll for her. Oh yeah, she got a 22. Sylvia is fascinated by that, but also, of course, by the batteries. Apex is known for melding magic and technology. So the idea of just like purely wind-powered energy is like a fascinating concept to her. It's something that they've dabbled in, but it's not by any stretch like the main power source that Apex would look at. So she's curious about that. But also you can tell, knowing what she's actually after, that she's very actively trying to determine if this is drawing power out of the observatory. And more importantly, if there's a way to fix the key. She hasn't brought up the key yet. You can tell she's doing crowd work and trying to see how much she can trust Cakestand Kelly. Right now, it's a lot of like, tell me about your facility because it's super cool. Also, I'm a celebrity, so if I ask you questions, you'll feel like you owe me something. But so far, she hasn't gotten any clear responses. In fact, there's been no mention of the observatory at all. So that's what you get with your good roll. Makka, what are you doing?
Nice.
I think Makka would approach the watch or guard who initially met us, and would just gesture to his weapon and say, "What is it you are protecting yourselves from out here? It is a difficult place to reach."
He like pulls off the mask and like his big like golden blonde beard springs out, sort of in a curly, hilarious fashion. He just kind of looks to the blunderbuss and kind of like stuffs it back in his belt and says, I mean, you probably encountered some of these creatures while you're out and about, but something wrong with the storms here. They're alive. I know that sounds crazy, but I mean, you've been out there. Have you seen that?
So the bolts, they come here too, yes?
And he kind of gives you a look and he says, "Oh, you're talking about the living lightning? No, we're far enough away that we're okay. The wind is the problem here. There are a number of elemental creatures in particularly in the vortexes that touch down around here. Luckily, I mean, we solved the problem mostly, but every so often one of them gets free. But he kind of waves you over to one of the portholes in the wall, and he points out, and you can see that there are massive turbines. So there's like the tall kind of wind farm, like think very much like a modern wind farm style windmills, but they're also massive turbines built into the ground, sort of shaped up out of the stone itself. And he says, "See those turbines there? They draw in the vortex. You may have seen some of the funnel clouds touching down. Those things are like lightning rods. They manage to pull all of that elemental energy towards them. And generally speaking, as long as those things keep running, we get very, very few of the we call them whispers, but sometimes one gets thrown free, and then it's time for the old 1, 2, 3, 4 reload desperately, try not to die, possibly 5, 6, 7, 8. You know."
Your people here have harnessed the elemental energy of the valley, yes?
Yeah. That's what we're doing. We send the batteries back home. They use them to make all sorts of stuff. You need a house. You need some walls. You need a good roof. We're your dwarves.
I have some experience in this. There was a society that also sought to contain and commodify a naturally occurring event.
Oh, yeah.
Have caution in this.
He nods and he says, and he leans, like the joviality drops a little bit, and he says, look, I'll level with you because you seem to kind of know what's up. We know this is dangerous stuff we're working with. A lot of the DEF that comes out here, they just think it's fun. It's an exciting post. It's a huge honor. But living storms, that ain't right. That shouldn't be. But we don't harness the elementals themselves. That's I know. And he kind of like looks left and right, and he says, "I know there's rumors that some of the other fortresses have dabbled in that, and no, that's not what we do. We're just using the actual winds from the storms themselves. The winds blow," and he points to the windmills. He's like, "Winds blow. Those guys spin. The more they spin, the more energy they produce. Energy goes to the batteries. We take the batteries, but." The turbines, and he points to the big defensive turbines. He's like, those are just they don't even pull anything in. They just pull things off course. We just need to keep them away from the batteries and from us. So they just divert course. You think about it this way. It's like, it's like we put a rock in the middle of a stream, right? It just diverts the stream a little bit, but the stream still flows. The elementals, they can go back up to the clouds. They can still zip around, do whatever the fuck they're going to do, but they just don't do it to us, I mean, they do occasionally blow our floats away. So thank you again for saving that one. The Jester is my favorite, and a Mounted Grout Victory Parade is nothing without its floats. So I really appreciate that you brought that one back.
You hold parades in a place like this?
Oh, no, not here. When we go home. This is just an outpost of Mounted Grout. Mounted Grout is underground. Well, I mean, you went to Sprongbreck, kind of like that. But when we come home with the batteries, it's a huge honor. It's a huge celebration. This is hard work, but it's worthwhile work. So we throw a huge parade. It's amazing. It's brass bands, some of the best food you'll ever have, great drinks. Everyone has a great time.
I hope for your sake that your superiors know full well what they are attempting to control here. A stone in the river, followed by another and another, can greatly divert the flow or dam the water and cause a flood.
He kind of nods somberly and he says, "You're not wrong." And he,
no, I am not.
Duncan, what are you doing?
Duncan would accept his images, and then honestly, I think this is just make nice. He would never discuss what they want, because looking at this operation, there's a chance disrupting the storm by engaging with the observatory will fuck up this like weird power collection thing, because if the observatory shuts down the storms, logically it would shut down this power source. But on the scale of things, that's not his problem. His problem is a Sinkai invasion and fixing Jossi, because those are his two primary oaths that he's sworn. So for him, this is just make nice, make polite, wait till you can get the power and the key, and then get out while staying friends. No damage to a Dawnbreaker's reputation. Just be nice. Okay. He also, if anybody plays dice, he does like playing dice, and he has a Dwarven Stone dice set that he plays with. So he might do some gambling. There's
when you bring them out, there's a couple of like a couple of the younger dwarves kind of like roll their eyes, and there's a bit of like a whatever grandpa kind of mentality as they go to spin what basically looks like the fantasy equivalent of Beyblades. But some of the older dwarves, one of them's just like, "This guy's got stones! He's got stones!" And there's like a collective cheer, and they're like, honestly, we're stuck here for 6 months at a time. We get very tired of playing against each other. You want to throw some dice?
Yeah, let's do this, friends.
Great. So, they go and set up bring you over to a corner where dice are clearly thrown. What stakes do you want to play for, if any?
If they play for beads, he would probably do some flashing along the way to try to get himself some currency to be able to play with, and then he'd play with beads. This isn't a high stakes game. He also doesn't really have money. Like that's not something he can play for.
That's fair. The first time you flash a dwarf, like there is such joy from the room, because like outsiders just immediately embracing the spirit of Martigraut. Really, it makes them nostalgic for home, but also like they think it's a blast. Also, like they've all collectively seen each other's stuff so much at this point that it's not even fun anymore.
Now, what kind of flashing are you doing?
I think it depends on what he's seeing in the crowd. Like probably a lot of like ab chest work. Feels
everyone's just doing tops. You can see from their pants, like everyone's wearing flashy vests. But like everyone is wearing these heavy work pants. So like there's a mix of fun and work going on here where everyone is clearly like, hey, check out what I got. But not like, hey, look, it's my junk. Oh no. Okay. Storm monsters.
I wanted some clarity
clear
on
mental
that
image.
point.
Yeah, no, I understand.
He's not volunteering dong out if nobody else is doing it. He's gonna play the shirt.
That's for proper celebratory
that's for the parades.
Mardi Gras parades. Yeah. In the areas where people are comfortable with that. Like there's zones. Exactly. It's honestly, they do it upright. Mardi Gras is a good fortress. Great. So you grab some beads, so you get some necklaces, and you go to the corner to play for necklaces. So we'll do this, I believe, as we did last time. 2d6, add them together.
Great. I have proficiency. I don't know if that changes anything.
So roll 3 and pick the best 2.
Great.
All right, let's go. I got 5.
I got 4. So you came
first round goes to Vance, your opponent.
Right, and Duncan would be very good natured about this. This is more about playing to make friends than it is playing to like get all their fucking beads.
Totally. So let's go for the next one.
God.
Ooh, that's a 9.
I got 5. I'm just eating shit on these dice.
Best of 5, so you got one more chance.
All right,
let's do it. Got 10.
8. Just got cleaned the fuck out.
So Vance takes your beads. Again, he's good natured about it. You get the sense that like there's nothing to buy here. Like it's an expedition. Like they just don't have anything. So and also I think Duncan, from watching this, like you understand from being in the Dawnbreakers, like the beads are clearly a way of letting everyone have like currency without actually having anything to buy. Like it's an easy thing to just pass around. No one really cares. It's very harmless. So he wins your beads. And he smiles and he claps you on the back and he says, your technique of throwing 3 dice and still losing is fascinating to me. I'd love to hear, is that a local custom? Where are you from, friend?
Well, I'm from Orville, the floating city, originally.
Oh yeah, we've heard about this. So wait, that makes you a human, right?
Correct.
Interesting. Wow, we've never and like they all kind of look around and they're doing that awkward like we don't quite know your customs thing, and they're like, we've never met a human before. It's real nice to meet you.
Well, it's nice to meet you too. This is only my second time meeting dwarves.
Oh hey, but you got those dwarven throwers? Did you get those from those assholes over at Sprongbreck?
Actually, these are passed down from the time before Orville. I inherited these.
Oh, no way. Wow. Ancient broken dice. That's awesome, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, they're old and bad. It's a gift, he says sarcastically as he like
they lean in, they're like, so's Kickstand Kelly. They make idle chatter with you. And Duncan, honestly, it's taken a while, but you get that experience of meeting dwarves that you always imagined you would get. I'm going to give you 1 point of inspiration for finally meeting the characters of myth that you hoped you like. This is literally this kind of like friendly exchange of ideas and customs is everything you hoped for when you read and learned the language and did all this stuff. And it's just so nice to actually get that.
Yeah, it's the first positive intercultural exchange Duncan has been able to participate in.
Meanwhile, Ita, So things seem to be wrapping up. You can tell Sylvia is a little touchy because she hasn't gotten many answers. But obviously she's heard about the power generation. She's made an offer to kind of like take a look at their stuff and see if there's any improvements she can make. You get the sense she's building up to the also I'm going to need something to power my key question, but has tactfully chosen not to. So it sounds like things are kind of wrapping up for the night. It's been a long day. You guys have had a tremendously long day. The Stars team, the rest of the squad has come and joined from the Ridge. The Stars team's had a long day after the fight earlier. Like none of you have had a chance to sleep. So yeah, everyone's looking to kind of like tuck in for the night. And then, I mean, I imagine for the three of you, you would assume that you're going to make for the observatory in the morning. You don't really have too much time to waste.
Yeah.
But you're also all pretty fucking beat. Is there anything you'd want to do before you tuck in for the night?
I think for a moment, Ida toys with literally just blurting out to someone like, why is no one talking about the observatory? But I think she may have finally learned some tactical knowledge, in that she kind of stops herself just in time thinking, well, if they don't want us there, then we're just giving them time to like prepare to stop us. So she decides not to. And I think a moment of growth.
Yeah, I like that. Fair enough. I'm going to give you 1 point of inspiration for not putting your foot in your mouth.
Aww. So nice.
Makka or Duncan. I will say you're given the guard, Makka, that you made friends with, whose name is Ed. Ed gives you the standard rundown on kind of safety procedures. He's like, listen, I know it's not too comfortable, but honestly, I think you'll understand this, Mr. Makka, based on the conversation we had. We always got to be ready for things to kind of go bad here. So we'd recommend you keep your gear. Also, I know you're sleeping in an unfamiliar place can be uncomfortable. You don't know us all that well. We all sleep in our gear so that we're ready to go at a moment's notice. We've got some really good cleaning powders. So like if you start to stink or whatever, we just have some of those. You can just rub them down. Doesn't fully work, but it works enough. Enough-ish. Also, I'm sorry about the smell. We've all gotten used to it. It's probably not great for you. It's not the worst, but also not the best. He's like, so anyway, all that to say, if you want to sleep with your weapons and your gear, fully understand. We'd actually recommend it. We haven't had a problem here in a long time, but and he kind of nods to Makka and just says, but floods can happen at any time. Am I right?
Yes. Thank you, Ed. I will sleep with my belongings, ready to wake to a battle if I must.
Oh, yeah, cool. I mean, and he points to a board that's like days since an incident, and it's like a very large number. And he's like, again, not a present concern, but I'm glad to hear you say that. And he kind of looks at you, Duncan, and I think he doesn't even really ask, because he just like looks you up and down and is like, this is a man who sleeps with a sword. Like, there's no real question of that to him. But is there anything the two of you would want to do before you tuck in?
Duncan would take advantage of the cleaning powder, because that just sounds nice as a break from being constantly filthy from the wilderness.
Absolutely.
Other than that, just the general, I think, conversations that he's had, he just kind of keep building those relationships, just trade stories of their lives, all that kind of stuff, because he's curious, not for a tactical reason, but just because he's the guy who's always wanted to have this exchange. So when he can, why would he stop?
For sure. You have what's your dwarven skill?
I can speak Dwarven, but a historical dialect.
Right. Okay.
Established.
I'm going to update that to you can now speak rough modern Dwarven. They unlike the guys at Sprongbreck, they actually just take the time to explain like how the language evolved. You certainly heard both versions in Sprongbreck, but no one took the time to like talk you through it. So you can think of it as like if you learned Parisian French, you can now speak like halting franglais, where it's like half Quebecois French, half Parisian French, and half English. 3 whole halves. So it's not you won't sound great, but you can manage.
Not fluent, but I can pull it off. Yeah, that sounds great.
Which I feel like doesn't really change much for you, but it's just a nice thing to not feel cut off from that wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, and then for sleep-wise, I think literally he would sleep beside or leaning against Makka, like just keep track of the team.
They actually have cleared out like they haven't moved their stuff out, but they've given you kind of an alcove. You can see there is kind of if you think about like sort of standard dome habitats, it's got like a little offshoot that's sort of some bunks and things. There's like a few little alcoves. And they've just given you, the 3 of you, one they figured you probably wouldn't want. They've given one to Sylvia and the stars. They've given one to you. And some of the stars are just going to stay up all night and work because there's a lot to do around here and a lot to think about. But generally speaking, you've all got, like, the 3 of you can very safely do it. Much like Doc Malvern's clinic, you get the sense that even though they don't have visitors very often, these are legitimately like fairly welcoming people who understand that like you're staying in a strange place and you may want to like post a watch and they're not like, hey, come on, trust. They're like, no, like we get that. Who the fuck are we? Like, it's fine. Yeah, they let you kind of just tuck in. And what's nice for you, Duncan, is you've got a wall at your back, but it opens up. Like, it's not a closed room. It's literally just like a little alcove. So you've got full view of the space, and the 3 of you can rest easy there. Also knowing that like Sylvia and like her gnomes and goblins are kind of in the next alcove over.
Yeah, I think Duncan would sleep just fine. He would not be pushing for posting a watch here. Frankly, this would be the least coordinated, worst setup assassination in the history of assassinations, because everyone here we have only found due to luck. And if they wanted to kill us, they had so many better opportunities than waiting until we sleep.
Also, they're not like walking around with weapons. Like the guards have weapons, but this doesn't. Yeah, you don't get a taste of like.
There's no bad vibes here.
No, good vibes only. Great. All right. So you tuck in. Makka, was there anything else you wanted to do?
No.
Great. And Ita, you consider asking. Do you want to ask Makka and Duncan why no one is asking about the observatory, or are you just going to hold your peace?
Yeah. I think if it's safe to do so without being overheard, then
it's a big enough space. There's enough like low level chatter going on. Also, like people are clearly working in shifts, so like people are sleeping while also people are talking. Yeah. The alcoves are remarkably quiet, all things considered. There's the nice, like it's chaotic outside, but it's actually very soothing to just hear the wind whipping around this sort of habitat. So yeah, you can absolutely ask them if you so desire.
I think I will. Duncan, Makka, these people are very friendly. Clearly, they have much technology, but I do not understand. No one has mentioned the observatory. Did you hear any talk of it?
Not where I was, and I can guess a number of reasons, but what I would say is if they aren't discussing it, we should continue to not discuss it. Clearly there's some tension or some interest surrounding it, and there are a number of reasons that could be. If you think through logically, because I know you're a fan of logic, maybe the dwarves don't know about it. Seems unlikely with their level of technology, but it's possible. Maybe they don't know if we know about it, and they don't want us to go there, so they're not going to teach us about it. And if we're going to the observatory and trying to engage with or affect the storms, logically that would affect the power collection here, which would affect their mission. So we don't want to bring up that is our purpose, because they could have a negative reaction there. We're still very early in these diplomatic talks, so I'm allowing the scientist to handle the conversation with the scientist, because I don't know how to have that talk. And our only goal is to get that done to save the world, Jassy, Orville, and possibly everyone from the Sinkai and other threats.
I understand.
It's an impressive thought, and it's doubly impressive that you have not brought this up with any of them.
I did consider it, and then it was almost as if I heard your reaction in my head before I said anything.
I'm honored, I think, by that. We are learning from each other. And both ways. I'm thinking more logically about things than I have before. Usually I would trust my, for lack of a better term, bodyguard gut or my dawnbreaker instincts, but I'm trying to think further ahead. I think I'm getting that from you.
Well then, we should sleep.
Unless you have anything to add about this lack of observatory discussion, Makka.
I thought you were speaking to someone about it. Has no one mentioned the observatory?
Correct. That's kind of what we were just talking about.
It has been conspicuously absent in conversation.
And our general...
I will go and confront them on this.
No. That what we just said was that we were going to let this one kind of let it flow. We don't need to engage with this. We don't need to ask about that. If they charge our key, we theoretically have what we need. We can let it ride, for lack of a better term.
These machines confound me. I do not understand their place in the world. The sooner we get to the observatory and put this behind us, the better.
Then let's not have a conversation with everyone about the observatory. That will mean we have to stay here longer.
Just so. Good. Yes.
And Makka will close his eyes again. He was sleeping through your conversation.
Great. So with that, you kind of bundle up together in reasonable comfort, and drift off to it. And actually, I was going to say an uneasy sleep because I'm just so used to saying that at the end of episodes. An easy sleep. It's you're warm, you're dry, and you've managed to observe the wisdom of silence. All of these are pretty big wins. And the three of you drift into sleep. Back at Doc Malvern's clinic, Gwendolyn, the doctor holds a brew in front of him, a herbal remedy that he has poisoned, and has seemingly asked you what he should do, having expressed that he is in extraordinary pain and has passed on his knowledge. However, he does have knowledge that would benefit you and the Alliance of Equals. So he has asked what he should do with this mug.
Well, obviously I don't want you to suffer, but at the same time, it's very easy to say that things are for the greater good when you're not confronted with the people who are going to suffer. But clearly, after look, this is just a lot right now, okay? So I'm just thinking now that I would like everyone to benefit, even if they're not in support of the Alliance. This is the thing, making the world better for everyone, regardless of their political leanings. Unless of course they want to destroy the world, in which case that's a no. And I think that that's obviously we shouldn't stand for that. All I'm saying is that I want it to be better for everyone, including you. So I'm a bit torn because I'd like you to do what's best for you, but I also think that people who are like-minded could also really benefit from the things that you could share with me. So I can't answer that for you. All I can say is what I think would be good for the world, but obviously not going to make you suffer for it. So it's
he
a little bit of a
raises
tricky...
a hand and he says, yes, a tricky question it is, yes? This is this one's point. The greater good would be served, yes, by this one's knowledge. Absolutely. This one would suffer for imparting that knowledge terribly.
Right.
You are putting together this alliance, this coalition, this group. You are making these decisions all the time. So, unfortunately, this one requires you to decide. Should I, and you can tell he has a real hard time saying I, but he does it. He says, should I drink this or not?
No. I mean, yes. I mean, I don't want anyone to, suffer ever. But I also want to know, how to help people who, don't want anything to do with the Alliance. What if they're suffering and, they could be helped even if they don't want to be part of the Alliance, but I don't want to hurt them in the process? I'm not quite sure.
Princess, it is a simple question with a simple answer. Should this one drink a mug of tea?
It's your choice.
No. If you are building this and forcing it upon the world, it is in fact yours. So should this one drink the tea or not?
I'm not forcing anyone
You have created
to drink
an
tea.
alliance and are adding nations to it that you do not fully grasp. You are only now coming to me, an old bird doctor in the middle of a wasteland, to ask if you are perhaps doing the right thing or not for a thing you have already begun to do. So the answer is simple. Should I drink the tea?
I think you're making the bigger situation all about you, and it's not. They have nothing to do with each other. I'm not making the decision for you to, kill yourself.
Since this one has asked what this one should do about this one's pain, you have talked about yourself quite a bit, about what you are worried about your alliance.
Demanding that I make the decision. You're literally making this about me.
I'm asking you to advise me. You are the one making decisions for all of us now. What do I do?
I'm not making decisions. That's the point, is that people get together and make decisions together.
And he drinks the tea.
Oh, what?
This episode of Curse Code and Crowd Sound was mixed and edited by Laura Hemstra, and the campaign was created by Tom McGee. Our original theme music was composed by Landon Knoblock, and Curse Code and Crown's logo was created by the brilliant Decapitated Markers. If you want to follow our players or our DM on Twitter, you can reach out to Laura at EL Hamstring, Ryan at the Ryan LaPlante, Tyler at Tyler_Hewitt, Tom McGee at McGeeTD, or you can message our whole company at Dice. So please, join us again for more Curse, Code, and Crown!
Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christian Menicola, the Half-Blind Prophet, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, One True Artistry, Orion Birchfield, Lord of Bradovic, Noel Lewis, Scott Garland, Anthony Griffin, Benjamin V, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Cade Peters, Richard Cranium, Anna Zed, Eric Williams, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Acrix, Cameron Ezel, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Austin Nut Powers Fry, Stabby Stranger, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.